So I'm here with the candidate for Noosa Mayor, Clare Stewart. Now the Noosa election is coming up on the 28th of March and I've been following you on social media. You've been out and about, you've been having a great time getting amongst the community. And what I love so much about you, Clare, is that you come across as approachable and genuine and honest. And I think these are all things that we look for in a mayor. And so I want to thank you first and foremost for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you and get to know you a bit better, for being all those things, being honest and genuine and approachable.
Thanks, Carly. It's great to speak with you, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just appreciate your time.
And we've just come off the back of the Australia Day long weekend,
Yes.
and you've been really busy out amongst the community,
Yes.
getting to know people and letting them get to know you. So that's really what this is all about today, is a chance to find out, who is Clare Stewart? Where do you come from? How did you end up here becoming a candidate to become the Noosa Mayor? Let's start from the very beginning. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in, a number of places. My dad was a guidance officer growing up. So I was born in Brisbane at the Gap.
Yes.
And then we moved to Bundaberg, Mount Isa and Gatton. And then finally back to the Gap, where I did all my primary school years at St. Peter Chanel, which I loved. And then I went to All Hallows School in Brisbane. And so primary and high school were in Brisbane. And I did my first degree, Bachelor of Business at UQ.
And so you went on to become a lawyer.
I did, yes.
And was that something you always saw yourself doing, or how did you fall into that?
Well, I think, look, I just finished a business degree and was still quite young, I think I was 19, 20. And my dad said to me, what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know. And he said, look, a law degree is a really good foundation to have. So I just put in an application for a scholarship to Bond Uni, and I was successful. And surprisingly, and so I went down to the Gold Coast and did law for 2 years, and then I moved to Sydney.
So that would have been such an exciting time of your life. You've finished your degree, you've moved to Sydney to take on a job.
Yeah, well, I moved to Sydney. I think I was 22 when I moved to Sydney. It was January 2000,
yeah.
And I drove down with my best friend. We drove in my car, and my parents drove in their car. And that's how I got to Sydney. Just had a car full of stuff and had nowhere to live at the time. Had a few people I knew, not many, and ended up flatting with a friend of a friend who was a med student in Sydney. And we were living in Bondi Beach, the iconic Bondi Beach. And I think I really resonated with living there because I had lived on the Gold Coast for 2 years. So there's always something, and I guess why I love Noosa so much is the beach is a big draw card for me.
Yeah. It sounds like a TV series plot. You've got a medical student and a lawyer hanging out at Bondi, living life.
Trust me, it was not that glamorous. I think we were so poor. We had like one or two chairs between us, and there's a little round table I think we picked up from some op shop. So it was very much, even though I was working, I got a job at KPMG at the time, it was very much student living.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
but it was great.
Life wouldn't be the same unless you'd had that experience.
And Bondi at that time, it was January 2000, so we were coming into the Olympics, and they had the beach volleyball. Oh. So Sydney was so exciting. It was just a buzz with the expectation of the Olympics.
I can imagine.
The stadiums were being built on the beach. Oh, it was just great. It was great
so
to be there.
It wasn't actually long after that that a life-changing experience occurred for you. Can you tell everyone what happened?
Sure. So when I lived in Sydney, I guess like I did when I was on the Gold Coast, I used to run every morning. So I ran the same. I'm a creature of habit. Same route, same day. This particular morning, 18th of August 2000, I did what I'd done for 9 months previously.
Yes.
I got up. It was cold. I got up, got ready for my jog, and this particular morning, I washed when you wash your face in the morning, and I stared at myself for just that little bit longer. And as I say now, looking back, the person who looks back now is not the person who was looking in the mirror that morning.
Okay, I've got the goosebumps because I'm very superstitious and spiritual when it comes to stuff like that.
It was just that little bit longer, and it was almost like this is the last time you'll see this person.
Oh,
and
Clare.
And it was, and that morning it was raining. It wasn't raining; it was overcast. And I remember getting out. It was Friday morning, and I was thinking, get out of bed. I thought, should I or shouldn't I go for a jog this morning? Oh. Yeah, I did, and I thought, you know what? I've got a big weekend ahead. I'll probably have drinks tonight, Friday night drinks. Very important to keep the figure intact, go for the exercise. So I thought, so I'll go. And that decision, that absolute one moment in time changed my life. So I washed my face, got dressed, and as I left the building and about a couple of hundred meters down from where I lived on Lewis Street, there's a pedestrian crossing. And as I had done every morning, same route, same look both ways, nothing coming. So I crossed, and a garbage truck, by the driver's own admission, failed to see me, and so kept going. The truck stopped, but on top of me. And so both of my legs were trapped under the front left wheel of the truck. And I remember people ask me to describe the pain, and you cannot describe that level of pain. And the first thing, I was screaming, and the truck driver got out of the truck, and he got out of his truck, and I was looking at these two things that used to be legs that were now no more. And I was just bleeding out, and I just had muscle and flesh everywhere.
Oh.
And he said, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Just get the truck off my legs." I said, "You've done enough. You've probably already ruined my life."
Oh.
And I hate to say the word lucky, but it's true. I was very lucky in that there was an ambulance not far. It was at a light, and they came straight away. And I was conscious this whole time, so this is why I can retell it in such detail. They administered enough morphine to kill a horse at that scene, because I ran into the ambulance, one of the first ambos on the scene a few years later. He said to me, "Not a day goes by where I don't think of your accident, because you were conscious and able to interact with us."
And I think, as much as that was a life-changing experience for you, imagine the first responders, they must have been absolutely shocked.
Yeah, they were. And then the police rescue squad came, and so they're saying, this is the policeman to me, "What's your address?" And I'm like, "This is my address, this is my parents' phone number," as I'm like screaming, "Don't let me die, they won't have to amputate my legs." And the first thing someone did was they put a towel over my legs so I couldn't see it, because I was just screaming like, "Don't let me die, they're not going to have to amputate my legs." And anyone who I asked that question to or screamed, no one would look at me and no one would give me an answer. And so they managed to have these huge, and I was just screaming, "Get the truck off my legs, get the truck off my legs." But had they done that, I would have bled out. So what they managed to do is the police rescue squad had these almost like a giant steel football, and they managed to lift the truck up, pull me straight out, and I went straight to hospital.
Oh,
and I was conscious until they put me on the phone when I was in the ambulance. And my mother at the time, my parents were living in Toowoomba. My mother used to teach a little school in Millmerran, which was about 100k in the country drive from Toowoomba. And so they had only been told that I had broken both legs, because the hospital didn't know how my parents would react, if they'd lose it all. So Mum said to me, "Don't worry, darling, we're driving down to get you." And I said, "Driving? Why are you driving?" Because I could see that I was A, probably not going to survive, and B, if I did, I'd lose my legs. And then she subsequently called back, because they got on my phone and said, "Oh, we're getting you ready for surgery." And Mum thought, something's not right here. And they put my flatmate, who was a med student on, who was at the hospital, who said, "Mrs. Saltman, they're talking about amputating Claire's legs." Oh. And so my parents had to drive to their only child, 23-year-old daughter, drive from Toowoomba to Brisbane to get on a plane to go to Sydney, not knowing what would happen to their only child.
Claire.
And they arrived later that morning, and I was 13 hours in surgery that day with a reconstructive surgeon, an orthopedic, and a vascular. And then I was in an induced coma for a number of days.
It's one of those stories that I came here today not knowing, should we talk about it? But I mean, you're so open about it, but it must have taken many, many, many years to get to this point.
Yeah, look, it has, yeah.
What was it like after the surgery and in recovery?
So I woke 3 days later after.
Lost an earring.
I woke 3 days later after, the Friday, I woke on the Monday, and they said, obviously you're okay, you're alive. And I said, "What about my legs?" And they said, "They're still there, but," and the but was huge. And I didn't quite believe them. So I'm lying in the bed feeling for my legs, because I didn't know if they were still there. And then I said, "What about my job?" Because I'd only been at KPMG for 6 weeks. And they were like, I said, "I've got to get back to my job, and they were like, "Look, your job's yours for as long as you need it, you're okay." So I spent a few weeks in intensive care, and then I went up to the ward, where I spent 6 months.
6 months in hospital?
I've had, and subsequently over the years, 37 surgeries on my legs. Yeah,
wow.
The initial time was 6 months in St. Vincent's, and then in a rehab hospital, St. Luke's.
So I would imagine during all of this time, there's all sorts of psychological things you're having to deal with. You had some, I guess, therapy to get through that period.
I had, physically it was incredibly hard. Nothing like having a truck sit on your legs for 37 minutes, but hard of, so I was lying flat for a number of weeks. And so even just to learn to sit up again and to have, because I had to have I'd lost so many arteries and veins. I had skin grafting all over my legs. I'd lost all my muscle, all my tissue, Achilles tendon sitting on the bed next to me. So my legs were, my chief surgeon said, Claire looks like someone we would normally see in an anatomical dissecting room in a morgue.
Oh,
that's what John Flood said on camera. So my legs they'd never seen anything like it. And I had emails many years later after I finished my book with people saying we were an intensive care nurse, we couldn't believe it, we've never seen something like that. So I had a lot of, so even just learning the blood flow with sort of, I guess, through rewired legs to sit on the side of a bed, and I used to just practice dangling my legs for like 20 seconds. And this is the rehab, and then it would be, okay, now your feet are actually going to touch. And because I had breaks and compound fractures, I was still heavy, I was all bandaged. And so I used to be, okay, now you're going to put your feet on the ground and feel the ground.
So literally baby steps.
It was literally, yeah. And someday, and then it was standing, and then it was, I stood for 20 seconds and oh my God, I can't believe anything could be that hard. And then it would be one day, as it went on and on, 4 steps, and then one day, and then 3, and then you'd go, oh, yesterday I managed this many steps, but today only. So it literally was, 2 steps forward and 1 step back a lot of the time. And my mum used to walk behind me, and my mum based herself in Sydney, left her home, her state, her husband, her job, just to be by my side. So she said to me when we were so unsure, she said, Claire, we will walk out of here together.
Oh,
yeah.
Where is mum now?
So being an only child, now my parents have followed me and the grandchildren, more of the grandchildren, to Noosa. So they're 8 minutes away.
So that is fabulous. What an emotional time for your whole family. But let's then cut to your family life. And so you've recovered, you've written a book, you're back at work. Yeah. And what was the next chapter in the life of Claire? So
I spent a long time in Sydney, so about 5 or 6 years, and I moved back to Brisbane at the end of 2005, and I began working with the charity Young Care.
Yes.
And through sort of friends, and then unbeknownst to me, I met my husband at the opening of our first ever Young Care apartments in 2007. He was a guest.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, it was very. And you know what? A friend of mine that morning said, "You will meet the man of your dreams tonight."
Oh,
isn't that weird? Yeah,
yes.
It's so weird, and I did. And that was in 2007, and Cam lived here in Noosa, and I was in Brisbane, and so we used to just do the commute. And then when my case settled, we fought the insurance company for 7 years, close to 8 years actually. And when that settled, I went to did the barrister's course, because I did my Masters of Law when I was still recovering in hospital, and I was admitted as a solicitor down in New South Wales. Okay. So I always kept my hand as hard as it was. I just needed to have another focus when I was recovering.
No doubt.
So that was a big thing. So I went and did the bar course and was admitted in 2008. So I guess Cam and I did the commute, and then I took chambers up here in Maroochydore, and then we got married in June 2010 at the Noosa Sheraton, which was lovely. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. And our bridal waltz was, we walked, believe it or not, from Greatest American Hero. It's the last line of my book, actually. Yeah. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's me.
Oh,
so it was
so
lovely.
Funny.
It was very.
I would like to say I've read the book, but I certainly know myself and many other people after watching this video will definitely need to read the book.
I've got a lot in the garage.
Yeah,
I'll give you one.
I'll grab a copy on my way out. And so then you settled in this beautiful town of Noosa that we are so lucky to call our home.
Yeah.
And what on earth made you want to go for Mayor of Noosa? Because from what I can see, and I don't know an awful lot about politics, what I do know is what this last couple of elections has taught me that I needed more interest in it. So I've been following you closely. I've been following other candidates closely. What I really want to understand is what would make you want to run for mayor? I mean, you have a thick skin. I know you've got that.
I think probably even thicker up. I do have a thick skin, and people say to me, you're tough enough. I'm like, whatever they throw at me, it can't be a garbage truck.
Oh, I think if you can get through that, you can get through anything.
I feel like I feel like my skin is quite thick. I've had a lot worse thrown at me and said to me, than what could be said in this campaign. But look, I have always had a really deep interest in politics, and I think I have been over the last, the accident was 19, coming up to 20 years ago, and I've been the recipient of so much help, support, care, community. Yeah. And I feel that, I feel a deep sense of responsibility to help those in many respects, you can't help themselves.
I find that a little bit refreshing, to be honest.
Yeah, because I was the person I had so many people help me.
Yeah.
And so I feel that if, I really believe in community service.
Yes.
I believe in making a difference to other people's lives for the better. I believe that, the people we have to look after in our community are the most vulnerable. Our children, our disabled, our old people. But then also we have to enable the community to be able to thrive. So we have to look after small business. We have to look after our environment. So I've always been really interested in politics, and I guess I have 3 children, and the youngest now is probably at an age where I think, you know what, I can take that next step.
Yeah.
She's a little bit older. She's still young, but, and I did think, about other levels, federal, state, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to be close to home, with having the 3 children in primary school and daycare. So,
and I really love that, and I think that's probably, since I've been in Noosa for 9 years now, and I've become so immersed in community, that's why I've become so interested in the politics surrounding this community. And it's really nice to know that you're here in a position wanting to give back, and I love that about you. So I don't want to get too much into the full policies and all that sort of stuff right now, because I think we could have some more chats in the lead up to the election.
Fantastic.
But I would like to know, and I think many other people would too, what are maybe some of the 3 most important policies that you would put forward going into?
Look, I think the first thing we're looking at is the environment, and a lot of people have talked about protecting the environment and business, and protecting and promoting small business. They're not mutually exclusive, so they can both work. We can work together on that. The reason people come to Noosa is because of our unique environment. It's a beautiful space. It's an iconic place. Everyone in Australia can just say, where do you live? And you go to Noosa and like, oh my God, how lucky are you? So, I think that's a big thing is promoting small business and enhancing people. And I'm really just saying, we've got 7,000 small businesses in the Noosa Shire, and just saying, how can we help, not hinder, and how can we work together? But at the same time, also looking at the environment, protecting the environment, and looking at ways that we can do better in regards to disposal of rubbish, to plastics, to things like that. That'll be a policy we're working on at the moment. That's a big one.
That actually brings me to another point. You are a small business owner?
Yes, as is my husband.
Right.
So he's been in a family business for 25 years.
Okay.
And I have 2, an online business and then a retail business. But yes, online. But so I understand the hardship that goes with small business, and nothing's guaranteed.
No.
So we need to sort of help those people in our community who want to get ahead and who are taking a chance. I have spoken to a lot of people within the community, and a big thing is, they want accountability. They want to know where their ratepayer funds are going. They want transparency. I know those words are being thrown around, but it is true. People just want, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, our dealings have been that we don't feel heard, that we're not, we'll call, we don't get a response.
Yes.
So, that's some of the feedback. That may not be in every case, but that's some of the feedback.
I feel a bit the same way. I feel that's why I'm a bit drawn to you, is because I like the approachability. I think that's such a huge thing. I want to be able to go up to people that work in our council and feel like I can approach them and ask a question or make a suggestion and be heard. I think it's so important.
Yeah, and look, our river is a big one. There's things we've put out some policies around that, and we will continue to do so. There's things that can be done there to improve that and enhance that. The river is just such an iconic spot for everyone in the community.
It's our river.
It's the Noosa River, and same with the hinterland. I meet up to the hinterland a heap of times, and they are so keen for people to come and visit them and show off there. There's some beautiful trail parks and walks. So it's talking about, I guess, making those sort of things more accessible for people up there, and people to go up there. And everyone talks about the congestion on Hastings Street, but let's get some people into the hinterland. Let's get some tourists up there and showcase that. So
I love it.
Yeah, so that's the big part of it too for me. But look, the main thing is I really want to be a voice for those in the community who feel like they're not being heard. I want to stand up and represent the community. There's no underlying current. What you see is what you get. Yeah. I'm very open, honest, and I bring with, I guess, I stand on honesty and integrity, and a core sense of wanting to help other people.
Well, I think the community is screaming out for honesty and integrity. That's what I'm reading on the community notice boards and all that sort of stuff. There's Noosa election talk, there's all the community notice boards, the whinges, the blah, blah, blah.
My kids are like, get off the phone, Mum. I was like, I'm sorry.
But it's quite fascinating to read. And like I say, politics can be a bit of a dirty game. But I'm really excited to see what comes of your campaign.
Thank you.
And to have someone that could potentially be the mayor of Noosa that is so approachable and likeable.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time. I know you're really busy.
No. Thank you for having me. It's been great to chat.
Well,
anytime. And we'll finish our coffees.
We'll finish our coffee and then we might have a champagne. But
absolutely.
Thanks again. And maybe we can get together again and talk more about the policies.
Yeah, I'd love to chat anytime. Thank you. And thanks for listening, guys. Thank you.
Clare Stewart.